But on the subject of getting rich, you made a 4-hour video all about how to get rich, and so rich that people won't even believe you. Yeah. How do you do that? If you had to break that 4-hour video down into 5 minutes, what would your top tips be?
Yeah, so people can not watch your video and they could just
watch this section of the podcast.
The single greatest wealth vehicle we have these days is to grow an audience on social media and then sell them something. Every super successful guy these days is doing the exact same business model. I like to say, like, you can learn the cute models like copywriting and agency and drop shipping, but all the people who are teaching you those things are actually doing my business model, where you post content, grow on social media, and then sell them some kind of program, course, community, whatever. That it's like the meta of making money these days. It's like, this is the gold rush. There's a lot of entrepreneurs which will tell you to get into a certain model, which they're not doing themselves. This is why I really back my program, because inside of it, I literally teach you how to compete with me. I teach you my secrets of growing on YouTube, because the way I see it is, because of how much success it's given me, it's kind of worth it, even though I've got a few more competitors. So what I'd say is, let's say, very quick guide on how to make money in the modern day. Start posting your lessons to your favorite social media platform. I get asked which one, should it be TikTok or whatever? I would say it doesn't really matter. Just the one that you use the most. So if you're on YouTube, for example, you actually consume YouTube, you know how it works, you know the like, dislike, you know about descriptions, you probably know that like hashtags probably don't even matter. You know those ins and outs. That's the platform. Simple as that. Don't overthink it. Oh, but the TikTok algorithm's like way better. It doesn't matter. The amount of people who told me like, oh, Hamza, you should get on TikTok. I've never used it. Why would I try and learn like a new platform when I can be king of the platform that I'm actually good at? I'd rather be on like a 7 out of 10 platform, but be 10 out of 10 on it, than be like some small fish on a big pond of the big platform that's got a really nice algorithm. Who cares? Choose the platform that you just spend the most time on and start posting content consistently. Then we ask, okay, what do you post? We're not going to consider like mindless entertainment channels, but for the educators, the idea is you just think of like your avatar, who is basically just the younger version of you. What did they need to hear to get to where you are today, but just a little bit faster? So for example, there's lessons that you've been through, you've had in your life that probably took months, maybe even years, a lot of pain and heartbreak and trauma that goes into that. If you tell a story of that, some of your viewers will cross that gap without that pain, which means that they're almost like a superhuman in the transformation that you've just went through, because they've just saved 6 months of the mistake of, you saying like for example, me telling you that like I've went quite complacent in relationships, and now I'm a big advocate of still getting the haircuts and everything. I've went through so much pain and heartbreak for that, but I was able to like save you maybe months or even years of pain just by kind of telling you that story. And now you're able to pass that on to your audience and notice that they can get real success or real results in their life. So the idea is you just like turn on the camera and give good advice to your younger self. And then I'm always asked of like, oh, but I don't really have good advice. Why would someone listen to me? And it's an unsexy answer I've got to give, is like, you need to actually have a life. If all you're doing is just consuming content and maybe going to the gym, most likely you're just boring as hell. Like most people, like I said, for me, is like they just stare at a computer screen, go to the gym maybe, and then stare at the computer screen, and then they're wondering like, oh, how do I make money? It's not about making money. Money just comes to the man who deserves it. You've got to become the man who deserves it. Can you speak to girls without getting weird? Can you handshake a guy without like, squeezing his hand too tight because you're like some social self-improvement autist who's heard that you should, have a firm eye contact? I speak to a lot of these guys. They just look at me like this, like, because they've watched my eye contact videos. They've watched like, my body language videos, and they'll do this like weird shit. And it's like, bro, just relax, man. Like I can tell you haven't had much real practice in life. So you need to go out there and do interesting things. Build a social media. This big next step past that point is then having a paid product, and that's how you make money these days. Is we grow on social media. Get that. All of that was literally just step one of building the audience, and that's a whole beast by itself. What I've been recommending it to make it easier for your viewers is, I would actually say, unless you're in like a very like desperate state, you don't even think about making money for a while. Not because it's a bad thing, but just because you don't really have the bandwidth. Like getting into social media is very difficult. I'd say set yourself a nice goal. Like I'd advise like a beginner to get to like 5,000 subscribers or followers in the first 1 year. Just focus on that. That's like your full-time business work. You're just obsessing over hitting 5K or 10K. Just focus on that. That is a gift to your future self. that's an asset that you're literally developing that your future self is going to be grateful for. People say like, oh, you know, I'm not sure, should I? And I just say, do it anyway. There is no way 1 year from now, your future self is going to say, oh, you know, I really wish I didn't get those 5,000 followers. There's no way that your future self at any point is going to say, oh man, I really wish I had less followers than I do right now. There's a guarantee that if you just grind that out, your future self will be happy that you built up that audience, that goodwill, and then he's more intelligent than you. He'll figure out the better way to monetize whatever like the meta is in that future, which hopefully it's still school. And that's how you make a great deal of money these days.